All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and this is a meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission for the City of West Hollywood. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather, currently known as the City of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Quiche peoples. And now lead us with the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could, please rise, face the flag, put your hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now, Madam Secretary, may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bass?
Here.
Commissioner Copeland?
Here.
Commissioner Kerpes?
Here.
Commissioner McCafferty?
Here.
Commissioner Topchin?
Here.
Vice Chair Goldman?
Here.
And Chair Rory?
Here. So we have quorum, and our next item is to approve the agenda. There is one appeal scheduled for tonight.
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's do just a voice vote on this one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That one carries. So we'll move on, same process for the minutes from our last meeting, which was November 13th, almost 2 months ago. So give folks a chance to look those over. They looked in order to me. If so, I'll move to approve.
Second.
With a second, another voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, so that carries as well. So marching along, we have public comment. I don't think we have anyone registered. Not at this time. So we can then move on to the manager's report. And we got some good news coming in tonight, so I will lead it over to staff to take it away.
Good evening, honorable commissioners. I'm Gloria Aviles, supervisor for the Rent Stabilization Division, and I would like to introduce you to our newly hired Rent Stabilization Division manager, Leona Rollins.
Welcome, Ms. Rollins.
Thank you so much. As Gloria indicated, my name is Leona Rollins. I'm the new Rent Stabilization Manager for the wonderful city of West Hollywood. And we were going to be going ahead and doing a look ahead at the calendar, what's upcoming up for us. So as you indicated, this evening we'll be hearing an appeal on D5049. At our next scheduled meeting on February 12th, we'll be hearing two appeals, D4930 as well as D5040. At our second meeting in the month of February, on February 26th, we'll be hearing an appeal for D5050. And then also our scheduled meeting for March 12th, we were scheduled to hear an appeal for D5056. However, that appeal was withdrawn on January the 20th. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you. And just for everyone's edification, tonight is going to be a little bit of a transition from Gloria to our new manager, so they're both going to be with us tonight. Are there any questions for staff at this point?
If I may, Chair.
Yes, please.
First, Madam Manager, welcome on board. Congratulations. Question in regards to the task force regarding the rent suggested guidelines, rent decrease guidelines. When is I don't see it scheduled anytime soon. Maybe Ms. Aviles, you can.
Yeah, the ad hoc committee is still meeting, so we may be bringing something forward either last meeting of February or first meeting of March as an update. And then shortly after that, we will be bringing forward recommendations to the commission.
Okay, all right, thank you. Nothing further.
Okay. I was going to add for next meeting, or when we can, one of the things we would like to do on a quarterly basis is to get just whatever readily available statistics there were on the previous quarter's eviction information. So that can be just something for next meeting to give that. And then we were also going to do like a quarterly update on where code compliance is in the city for checking multifamily unit buildings so that people can know. And I just wanted to flag those for you so you're able to jump on that whenever is convenient.
Yes, absolutely. So the goal and the vision for the division going forward is to provide the commission with quarterly reports on trends that we're seeing within the community coming forward regarding the rent stabilization ordinance. And then also we will prepare some data, statistics, and summaries in relation to code enforcement level complaints that we have been receiving, and then going ahead and doing inspections and what those outcomes have been thus far.
Great. We look forward to receiving that information. Okay, great. So good. Okay, so at this point, then we will conclude the manager's report and move on to the appeal. And Mr. Mejia, if you want to come forward at this time, you can do so. Just have a seat in the front row. And the way this is going to work is we're going to have a lead off of the discussion by council, and then you're going to have an opportunity to speak. The landlord is not going to be here tonight, so you're just going to be able to have your 5 minutes to yourself. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to legal counsel to lead us in the opening discussion of this appeal, D-5049.
Good evening, Chair, honorable members of the Commission. My name is Natalie Camarena, and I'll be serving as counsel for this evening's Rent Stabilization Commission meeting. Item 8A on today's agenda concerns an appeal by the tenant to a hearing examiner decision for a property located at 1145 North Ogden Drive, Unit 203. On June 5th, 2025, tenant Luis Mejia filed a rent decrease application in connection with the following issues: the repair of a malfunctioning refrigerator, reimbursement for spoiled food, reimbursement for lost wages, reimbursement for time spent on prepping for and attending the rent adjustment hearing on the application. The application was heard on July 28, 2025, and a decision was issued on November 10, 2025. The decision found as follows. On the issue concerning the refrigerator, the tenant was not entitled to a rent decrease. Specifically, the decision states that the tenant testified the refrigerator was malfunctioning and that the landlord testified that the refrigerator was operating properly and any cooling issues were caused by the tenant's own use. In support of the rent deduction, the tenant submitted photographs depicting moldy or spoiled food, and the decision ultimately found that the tenant had not met the burden of proof to establish that the refrigerator was malfunctioning or that there was a qualifying loss of reduction of housing services. On what I will be referring to the additional issues concerning the reimbursement of several items for spoiled food, lost wages, and time spent preparing for the hearing. The decision briefly noted the tenant's additional requests, but did not otherwise analyze or discuss them in detail. On appeal, tenant asserts that the decision is not reasonably supported by the findings or evidence in the record. The tenant contends that the hearing examiner failed to give adequate weight to the tenant's testimony and photographic evidence, and asserts that additional documentation exists but was not produced at the hearing. The question before the Commission on Appeal this evening is whether or not there's substantial evidence to reasonably support the hearing examiner's decision regarding the refrigerator. Staff's recommendation and staff believes that there's additional evidence in the record to support the hearing examiner's decision. The tenant submitted photographs depicting moldy or spoiled food. However, those photographs in themselves do not establish that the refrigerator was malfunctioning. Food may develop mold even in a functioning refrigerator, depending on the storage conditions, including potentially when food is uncovered. The record does not include any third-party inspection reports, maintenance records, or other objective documentation establishing that refrigerator failed to operate or maintain temperature. While the tenant's appeal states that third-party documentation exists, it was not produced at the hearing. The Commission is limited to reviewing evidence in the record. New items submitted with the appeal or alluded to but not produced are not permitted to be considered by the Commission. The hearing examiner heard testimony from both parties and found that the refrigerator was not malfunctioning. Under the applicable standard of review, the Commission does not substitute its judgment for that of the hearing examiner or reweigh the evidence. Even if the evidence could support a different conclusion, the decision must be affirmed where there's evidence in the record supporting the hearing examiner's finding. Accordingly, staff recommends affirming the hearings examiner's decision as to this issue. On the additional issues concerning reimbursement, the decision correctly avoided granting the tenant's request as to these items. Requests for the type of financial compensation are outside the jurisdiction of the Commission, which is determining whether or not the jurisdiction of the Commission is limited to determining whether or not there has been a failure to perform a required maintenance or a substantial reduction or continuance of a housing service has occurred under the rent stabilization ordinance. While there may be other potential avenues for remedies, such as civil remedies available to the tenant, those matters are not before the Commission, and staff does not opine on their merits. In sum, staff recommends that the Commission affirm the hearing examiner's decision in this appeal in full. That concludes my presentation, and I welcome any questions from the Commission.
Thank you, Council. Commissioner Topchin?
Thank you, Chair. I guess I want a confirmation that this third-party report or the evidence from a third party, it did not surface until the tenant filed an appeal, right? It was not mentioned at the original hearing that there would be a third-party report.
Right. So there is mention with regards to additional evidence and appeal on the appeal application, which was not raised at the additional hearing. So that is not before the Commission. I believe it was prior to the hearing date. There was evidence that was approved, that was submitted via flash drive, but it's not the correct format pursuant to the notice that's provided to the parties with regards to how to prepare evidence and submit them for the hearing. The notice provides that, and I'm going to quickly pull it up so I can make sure that I read it in verbatim. Parties are informed in the hearing notice that anything offered on a flash drive other than audio or video evidence will not be considered. The language on the notice specifically states, audio, video, and digital evidence is not admissible unless the party can show that it is the only evidence that can demonstrate the fact sought to be established and that the evidence could not have been produced by other means. When permitted by the hearing examiner, such evidence must be submitted on fixed media, a flash drive, in a Windows-compatible format and provided at the hearing. No files on the fixed media device outside of audio, video, digital evidence will be considered. So in sum, there was a flash drive that was submitted that contained documentary evidence that was not in the form of audio, video, and digital evidence. And that's why it wasn't accepted into evidence.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up question. I don't want to sound that's like a hypothetical, but what type of evidence other than photographic images a tenant could have produced to show that the refrigerator is malfunctioning?
No, sir. After council, you get to speak, but you're not allowed to interrupt. But you will have a full 5 minutes and uninterrupted, I promise you.
If it's hypothetical,
right,
don't answer.
Yeah,
but here, what we're basically saying is that, the examiner says that these photographic images were not sufficient to establish that the refrigerator malfunctioning. And it's not only related to the food that is going bad, but also I see the image of that something is wrong clearly with the freezer.
Right. And it's really determinative on a case-by-case basis. Hypothetically, other evidence that could have been submitted would be inspection reports from a licensed professional whose expertise and has experience in investigating the type of alleged issues. Those are some additional forms of evidence that could be submitted, but again, it's all hypothetical. There may have been potential avenues, but that's simply just not before the Commission.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Copeland.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to confirm again, when was that the improper form of evidence submitted again? When did you say that this was attempted?
I'm not sure with regard to the timing, and for that, we'll actually defer to staff to see if they have further insight on that. I believe it was before the hearing date.
Okay.
But if I may.
And the second part of the question was just to confirm that the hearing record was not held open to submit any additional evidence.
That's
after the
correct.
Hearing. Is that correct? It was closed at the date of the hearing.
That's my understanding. If that were to be the
Okay.
case, it would have been something that was stated in the decision, and I didn't see language to that
Yeah,
effect
I
there.
didn't see that, but I just wanted to confirm that. Okay, thank you. That's it for me right now, Chair. once we have an answer to that first part, if we can.
Looking down this side of the dais, no questions from council at this point. Okay. Well, is it okay, Commissioner Copeland, if we move forward while they're looking for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When that information becomes available, if it does, that would be fine.
Okay, great. All right, Mr. Mejia, thank you so much for your patience. What we're going to do at this point is you get a full 5 minutes uninterrupted. Now, I would like, if you can, to please stick to the issues that are germane to the discussion tonight, if you can. And you're really supposed to be limited to the evidence that was presented in the record, so you can talk about that, but clearly there's this issue with some other information that you tried to submit, so I think you can touch on that as well. And you're gonna have 5 minutes. Once that expires, that's it though. So okay. I just full fair warning, but you will get the full. And then afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for some questions from the commissioners, okay? So whenever you're ready, go ahead and say your name, city of residence, and then they're gonna start the 5 minutes.
Sounds good. Hello, thank you for seeing me today. My name is Luis Alexander Mejia. I used to live at 1145 North Ogden Drive, apartment 203, which is where the case is. I had to move out of there because of the living conditions related to this matter, because I ended up in the emergency room several times. And at rehab, I actually made it, I left rehab to go to this hearing because of all this issue that was going on. So, and I live now at 7111 Santa Monica Boulevard. I'm sorry that you're misinformed because in the hearing documents, and I know this because I went to the, this is really short.
Sir, there's a hand mic if you would like to hold it.
Thank you. Actually, I don't want to waste my time, so I'll just...
it won't hurt your time. If you, to be comfortable, you should be comfortable when you speak.
I can handle it. So the clerk's office gave me a copy of the hearing documents. And in the hearing documents are 3 separate inspection reports, all from 3 different parties, one being Section 8, inspectors that come out. They do that for a living. And they came out and they verified the documents and they held back rent from the landlord saying, we won't pay you until you fix this refrigerator. And it took months. And it still wouldn't work at the end. So, and then there's a second report from the LA County Health. They came out and verified that the refrigerator was also not working. And they notated on their moldy conditions. And third, from your very own, code and compliance. So they do that for a living too. I know there was a question about whether they're qualified or not. But they came out several times because of a pest issue that was going on in my unit that he said, I explained that in the video, but basically he was lying. So it sounds like the examiner must have overlooked these inspection reports, and it sounds like, yeah, they did as well, but they're in there. And they do inspections for a living, and it clearly states that it was not working. And in the hearing, the landlord himself said that it wasn't working, that he attempted to fix it. And my case manager was present there because I wasn't well, and that's the reason why I couldn't submit all the evidence. But the video is no new evidence. It's just a summary, a visual summary of the things that were discussed in the hearing so that you guys can see it, and I don't have to talk about it because I only have 5 minutes. And so there's clearly enough evidence to support that the refrigerator was not working. It sounds like the examiner must have overlooked that. Maybe he had something on his mind. Maybe that's the reason why it took 3 months instead of the 30 days that you guys advertised. I wonder what happened there. Something for you to look into because I'm not sure why, but I'll let the video play now.
Well, sir, we're going to pause on the video because we're not just going to be able to play a video. You should exhaust your 5 minutes now, and then we will have to have a separate discussion about whether the video even gets played because that's really considered new evidence. It'd be better for you to just explain maybe what you want to say about the appeal.
So this happened over a matter of a year, right? And so it'll take a long time for me to basically explain everything that happened. And that's why I took the time. It took me a long time to compile that video together because there's so much in there. And it basically shows all the lies and the things that he did, which sounds like is what the examiner went and supported what he said without having any third-party support to support what he was saying, what Leon was saying. But I have support from 3 different parties not related to us, including one of your own. And it's in the hearing documents from the clerk's office. And so you don't need to look very far. But as I said, I wasn't well medically to take all those documents into the hearing, but they were included already. The landlord was the one that included all the third-party inspection reports. I'm not sure why. But as I said, I had to leave rehab and I wasn't well, and then but the video takes care of that. And again, that's no new evidence, that's just a visual summary of what was discussed so that you can be able to understand that and see it visually instead of me explaining it, because we won't finish. I'll be here for an hour.
Well, I appreciate your efforts to put together like a summary video, but the process works so that you get your 5 minutes now. So
Okay, I'll try to do that.
Yeah, just do your best.
I'm not sure why you're opposed to it. It's right there. It's very simple. Is there a reason why you don't want to see the video?
It's kind of the rules of evidence and the way that this process works. So it's not my
Okay, because
decision.
I'm getting exhausted right here already. I mean, I'm under the weather right now, so it's, and I know I only get this chance. So in the lease, the refrigerator is included. For a year, the refrigerator was not working and it was accumulating mold. I was getting EBT, and so I put the food in there, and the next day it would go bad. So he said that it was something to do with something that I was doing, leaving the door open to the refrigerator. I'm not exactly sure how you can support that by saying that I'm gonna bring in all my EBT and all the things that I need to survive and put it in my refrigerator and not forget to close the door for months at a time. I mean, if somebody tells you, maybe you forgot to close the door, then you would check every night to make sure that it's closed. And if there's a decaying animal inside your house and there's mold and you're getting sick from the stomach and you're going to getting colonoscopies and you're missing work and you still have to pay the rent, it's impossible to say that it's something that I was doing over a year. And so it was a long process to get the county health involved, to get the inspection report done by your code and compliance, to get Section 8. I could have lost my benefits because you wouldn't fix the refrigerator. And so when I moved out because I couldn't live in those conditions anymore. So, but the refrigerator was still there. And the video shows it. And it also shows how he treated the maintenance request when he would go in there and he would say, because he would remove all my food and take it somewhere else, and then he would disappear for days, and I couldn't reach my food, and I was like, where's my food? And so I asked him, you need to post a notice besides just coming in here and snooping around and using my personal belongings to clean the mold out of the refrigerator with my shirts, and then leave the mops on the floor, and then can put my personal belongings on top of the counters so that it contaminates everywhere else. And he just didn't care. He would say, no, this is where you're wrong. You're in my unit. This is not your unit, you're in my unit. So it's very obvious. I started getting the idea that he was really comfortable with those things of being able to just come into my apartment and doing whatever he wanted to, and he wanted to address things whenever he felt like it was, he wanted to. And so I started talking to some other tenants, and they said that he has a history for this. So, and then I had an old friend who lived there years ago, and I talked to him about that, and he's like, oh yeah, I was his manager, and he behaves that way with everybody else. I actually left on bad terms with him because of that. And so...
That is your time. Sorry, the 5 minutes.
I'll give you a chance to wrap it up, sir, if that's okay.
So... there's something here that's clearly wrong, right? And you are the commissioners. And so he obviously knows that you guys won't give it the time. It's just one tenant. It's no big deal. It's just a refrigerator broken down. They won't say anything. I can get away with this and do whatever I want. And so that's the understanding from the other tenants in the building. And so people who have been there for more than 10, 20 years, and they've seen this come and go. There's only 2 people that say we won, and it's because we stuck with it. We kept on going and going and going until I forced the commissioners to take a look at it. And so I'm asking for your support to see that there's third-party reports in there that are not being seen, and that should be enough to say that the examiner's conclusion that there wasn't evidence is wrong. There is evidence in there. You just have to look at the report.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think, just stay up there because I think we're going to have some questions for you. I think I have a few just to clarify, but take a breath. You did a good job there.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's very emotionally disturbing.
I can totally relate to that. My question was just to make sure it's very clear. Putting the video aside, you're saying that there were these 3 inspection reports, which you described, and you're saying you did submit those as part of your appeal process. My specific question is, were those digital files that got submitted through like a thumb drive, or how do you recall submitting specifically the 3 reports?
The landlord submitted it via, he had the physical copies, and I didn't submit them. I just know that when I looked at the copies of the hearing documents, they're all in there. The Section 8, the LA County, and your very own code of compliance is in there. And the gentleman, the tourist officers, they clearly stamped it with the date, and it shows right there, refrigerator not
So
working.
you didn't submit them, you just saw them as part of a record?
The landlord submitted the evidence.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's your understanding. And then I just want to be very clear, you're no longer in this apartment, you're at a different apartment.
Yes, and I urge you not to use that as a reason of why not
No,
running
I'm
this
not.
case correctly.
I'm not. I just have to ask the follow-up
Okay.
of how that works legally. Okay. I'm going to open this up to other questions.
My only question was, what date did you move out? And I just want to piggyback on that. Chair.
Do you have a rough date of when you moved?
August 14th.
Okay, that's perfect. This of 25.
Yes.
Okay. What about other questions? Commissioner McCafferty?
Do you have the packet in front of you, by chance?
I tried printing it out.
The commission secretary can hand you one.
There might be one on the podium.
She's going to
Yeah.
refer to some pages probably and ask you some questions. So.
It's going to be about the last page of the packet. There's 2 blank pages, but it's going to be page 59 of your packet, the last page that has text on it, basically. So this is an inspection report from LA County, which I think you're alluding to. And I just wanted to make sure this is what you're alluding to. Because this does cite a violation, although it has nothing to do with the fridge. The first says that it's like a sewer issue, which is outside of the scope of this. And then the second mentions a space behind the fridge, which is outside the scope again, but it says that there's no mold anyways. So I was thinking maybe this is what you saw as...
This is one of them, but this is not all of them.
One of the
There's
3.
There's several that I had pointed out.
So this will be the county one, and then there's still a elusive...
This is the county one, and they specifically stated it had to be the physical structure of the apartment for them to comment on it. So even though they verified that the refrigerator had moldy substance, they couldn't comment on the report because the refrigerator is not attached to the physical structure of the apartment.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it to, during deliberations, if any of my other commissioners notice something else, but for this one specifically, I don't think this supports the fridge at all. It doesn't mention the fridge, it only mentions a space behind the fridge and states that it has no mold. But thank you for clarifying that this was the county one that you were...
And I think this is the reason why he decided to include this one, because it stated something about behind the refrigerator, no moldy substance. And I shared this with the inspector, and she said that he's using this for the wrong reasons. That's not what that's not what the report was for. The report was to state what I can state, but I saw that there was mold inside the refrigerator. But again, Luis, I'm sorry, I cannot comment on my report.
Okay. Okay. That's it for now. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Kerpes wants to ask you some questions.
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So that's one of the documents you mentioned in that packet that's still in front of you. I think if you just look through each page going backwards from there, can you point out what other document you're referring to that was, because this is the file right here that was submitted to the hearing. So I want to make sure that I'm not finding it. So if you could point it out for me, that would be helpful. Was it from the county you mentioned, or this one?
There's one here from your
From our inspector, right?
From your code and compliance, but I don't see it in this packet. But I saw it in the
Okay. And what was the third one?
the Section 8.
Okay.
Section 8
Which is
inspection
not-
report.
Which is not the Section 8.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and I didn't submit those, but they were inside the report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Copeland, are you okay? Okay. Vice Chair? Okay. All right, great, sir. So,
May I add one last thing? I would have included those reports, except again, it's hard to be able to function when there's no food in your apartment.
okay,
And you're sick all the time, and you have to end up at the emergency room and go to rehab.
okay.
So I asked that to take that into consideration of why those reports weren't in there. But it
Okay.
doesn't take away from the fact that this conclusion is wrong, and this is an opportunity for you to make something right with the landlord. He
Okay.
seems to think that it's okay, that you won't care, and I hope that you demonstrate otherwise.
Okay, thank you so much. You can go ahead and have a seat. Now, we're going to close the testimony part. You take a load off. Go ahead and have a seat. And then we're going to deliberate up here. You get to watch us deliberate, and then you can watch the process unfold.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Okay, great. So we're going to close the testimony part of the hearing, and now we're going to open it up. We do not have anyone from the landlord here to speak, so it's closed. And we're going to, I think there might be some questions for council at this point, which might be good. And I know you're going to give the feedback on Commissioner Copeland's question, and then I had a question before we do deliberations.
So we looked into the timing of the submission of the thumb drive, and it occurred on November 25th.
Okay, November 25th.
November 25th.
Right. So that was after the date of the initial hearing of the hearing examiner, which was on July 28th.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate the date. I do have a question about what the process is if a tenant is moved out before the appeal date. Do we have a process for that or any instructions for that?
Yeah, just even, that was my question too, like how does
How does that
rent
affect
reduction,
anything, if at all?
how's a remedy going to work if the landlord isn't there anymore?
Right.
If he's at a different apartment?
And that's addressed by the regulations, specifically Regulation 60038B, and I'm going to read it verbatim because it's not very long. If an application for a downward adjustment in the MAR is granted by decision of the hearing examiner, the effective date of the decision is the next rental due date following the date the application is accepted for filing pursuant to Section 6005, and this is the pertinent provision. If remediation of the condition supporting this is related to an additional issue in the hearing examiner. So it would be granted, it would be the duration of the rent adjustment would be the duration of time in which the issue was found to have occurred. So if the tenant was in the property for a year, but the maintenance issue existed for only 5 months of that specific tenancy, then the way that the reduction would be granted to the tenant is in this way, it would be as a format of, the landlord reimbursing the tenant for the duration of time in which the issue was present.
How does that work if there's no relationship anymore because the tenant has moved out? That's my question.
Yeah, the landlord would be required or obligated to essentially reimburse him for the decrease in cost. So if there's a finding made that this was a substantial reduction in the housing service and a value was provided based on the valuation guidelines, that deduction would then be multiplied by the duration of time in which the issue existed, and then that amount would then translate into the remedy that the tenant would be entitled to. So
Would that be through some sort of like civil process? It's almost like a judgment saying that the tenant was owed a certain amount for a certain period, but he can't just go and collect it or offset his rent, so he would have to go through some sort of civil remedy to collect on that?
That is a great question, and I will defer to staff if there's any question with regards. This is a unique situation, so I want to quickly defer to staff as to how this has been implemented in the past.
Yes, it would become a civil issue, so they would have to file a small claims case at the Santa Monica court for that.
Okay, and there's a follow-up from Commissioner Bass.
So the application was deemed complete on June 5th, 2025, and the tenant moved out on or about August 14th. So that would mean that if a substantial reduction was found, any reduction in rent would start on July 1st, the first rent due date after the hearing, or excuse me, the application. So July, and then he moved out August 14th. So I don't know, and we don't have the evidence before us, whether there's a 30-day notice and whether he was charged August and September, but at most it would be 3 months, maybe 2 months of a rent reduction if that was to be reversed. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, so it would be for a minimal amount of time, given what the evidence would show when the issue first commenced, and if, of course, substantial evidence found that the issue was occurring, up to the time at which he moved out. Again, if there's substantial evidence showing that the issue continued to persist until that date.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's jump into deliberations. Curious to hear what people are thinking. I guess I can kind of lay out my initial thoughts, but these are just free form, and please everyone chime in. I am really sympathetic to the tenant's plight here. And I very much want to be able to try to do something to help, but I'm keep mentally being constrained by the process and the rules of evidence and these other issues, which lead me back to a position of affirming the staff's recommendation and affirming the hearing examiner's decision. I tend to believe that there might have been other reports out there, but I also tend to believe that for whatever reason, they weren't submitted to the hearing examiner and they weren't part of the official record, and therefore the hearing examiner didn't have them. And we're supposed to look at what the hearing examiner had, and in this case, determine if there was substantial evidence to support the hearing examiner's decision. And I'm not seeing something in the record that says the hearing examiner had these items and didn't pay attention to them or missed it somehow. I'm hearing other things that lead me to believe the hearing examiner did the best job they could with what they had. Those inspection reports, if they existed, weren't part of the record, and therefore it's one of these evidentiary legal things where I feel like my sympathies to the tenant aside, my hands are tied in approving the hearing examiner. And I would say also, the fact that the tenant has moved out bears no weight at all in my decision, because if there was anything to be done, I would have no problem with giving the tenant an opportunity to have a modest amount of money. It's not going to be a lot if there was a rent reduction. For staff, what is the range for a non-working refrigerator? That's probably something for everyone to understand here. I think this is a very modest amount, but I can't get there because I don't see how the hearing examiner missed something.
So for the record, that's established by Regulation 60041.1, and under the valuation guidelines for a refrigerator, it starts with a low amount of $83 to a high amount of $225. And the valuation within that range is informed by the relevant factors in 60041 subdivision B, which I'm happy to summarize if the commission has any questions.
Okay, yeah. So you said 80 something to 200 something, and they at most, given the windows we're talking about here, is 2 or 3 months. Okay. I'm going to kick it open to anyone else who wants to weigh in. Go ahead, Commissioner Rouse.
Chair Rory, I agree with you. This is a case, Mr. Mejia, where for me, I can only speak on behalf of myself, I don't doubt anything you say. I have no reason to doubt anything that you say. But the hearing examiner takes the evidence that's before them, and they make the best decision they can. And as you heard legal counsel introduce this, we don't get to substitute our judgment for the hearing examiners. We have to just look at the evidence, which is in that packet, that the hearing examiner had before them, the summary of the oral testimony that they heard, and determine, could a reasonable person have made that decision? And for me, it's very clear that a reasonable person could have made that decision. And so, again, I'm not saying I would decide otherwise, but I would just want you to know that you made an effort to come out here tonight, and we heard you and appreciated that. But we are really bound to follow what the code requires us to do, and that is just to determine if the hearing examiner made a reasonable decision. And so I would agree with the chair here. I wanted to know the numbers of months so we could get a concept if we went that direction. If that's what direction the commission decides to go, I'd like to know, what we're actually looking at. But it bears no, it doesn't weigh on my decision either. So I agree with you, Chair.
I'm sorry, sir. We're just doing the deliberation part. There will be a comment period at the end, but really, it's very important at this point that we just say our time to talk. Commissioner Kerpes, could I just lead with?
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay. Commissioner McCafferty.
Yeah, I agree with what was stated. I'll just add for the record, it seemed to be kind of an unfortunate cycle that we're stuck in. The original determination stated there was lacking evidence, and then the appeal is now, but we can't accept new evidence, and so that's why I think that we're all kind of struggling with this one so much. So I just wanted to bring light to that. But I agree. I think it's reasonable to run out. I would vote to affirm, staff.
Vice Chair? I'm really sorry, sir, but I'm going to have to cut you off. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. And again, just to restate, it is unfortunate that we kind of end up in these cycles, and appreciate the testimony and believe everything, but we do have to stick to what is in front of us. So I agree with my colleagues.
Okay. Mr. Topchin?
Thank you, Chair. Based on the evidence that is before us, I believe that the examiner reached the correct conclusion. The Commission cannot substitute the judgment for the examiner's decision, and we cannot reweigh the evidence. And I think the evidence that we have before us is just clearly is not enough to substantiate the tenant's claim. So I think that the staff's recommendation is correct to affirm the examiner's decision, and that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Copeland?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with my fellow commissioners here. While certainly my empathy lies with the tenant and everything that we did here tonight, and I know there was additional evidence that he mentioned, but it was not presented to us in the record, and the record was not held open to receive additional evidence, and we have to base this on the evidence that we have in front of us, which the examiner deemed insufficient. And I don't see anything that would imply that that was an egregious decision or outside of the law. For us, we have to work with what we have to work with and what's in front of us. And unfortunately, there's nothing that would lead me to think the hearing examiner was incorrect in weighing the evidence that he did have. And as for the other part of the appeal, of course, it's outside of our jurisdiction to award any compensatory or punitive damages for any of the other things that were mentioned. Unfortunately, that could be a remedy elsewhere, but we can't weigh in on that either. So I do agree with my fellow commissioners on this one. Is, you know, unfortunate as that case may be, that's the regulations, that's the law, and that's what the evidence points to. So thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you. With that, then, I think I will lead a motion. I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution RSC number 26-701, a resolution of the Rent Stabilization Commission of the City of West Hollywood affirming the hearing examiner's decision as to application number D-5049. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Vice Chair seconds. Can we do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bass?
Aye.
Commissioner Copeland?
Aye.
Commissioner Kerpes?
Aye.
Commissioner McCafferty?
Aye.
Commissioner Topchin?
Aye.
Vice Chair Goldman?
Aye.
Chair Rory?
Aye. All right, so that motion passes 7-0. Mr. Mejia, if you have any further questions, you can reach the Rent Stabilization Division at the City of West Hollywood, 323-848-6450, by email at rsc@weho.org, or you may request an in-person appointment online at weho.org under the Services menu. And at this point, you just wait 2 seconds, and there's going to be this public comment period, and you can speak then. But right now, you're not allowed to comment on what just happened. That's just not the way the process works. So I appreciate your cooperation. We're going to move on at this point to items from staff. We have no new business, so we're going to move straight to items from staff.
Yes, good evening. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a speech of gratitude. So let me read this out to you, please. I just would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the 7 members of this commission for your support and collaboration during my temporary acting assignment as the Rent Stabilization Division Manager. Your thoughtful management, professionalism, and commitment to fair and balanced decision-making were invaluable throughout this period. The Commission's work in adjudicating tenant-landlord appeals is essential in upholding due process, housing stability, and equity, core values of our city. It has been a privilege to work alongside a body so deeply dedicated to public service, and I'm truly appreciative of the trust and support you extended during my tenure. I'm also grateful for the hiring of the new RSD manager and look forward to work closely with her and this commission on future projects and initiatives as assigned. Once again, thank you.
Great. Well, I think from items from commissioners, you'll be hearing more, but I just say that was well said, and we really appreciate very much the time you spent with us. And that said, we really look forward to our new manager as well and continuing the tradition of this really strong department in the city.
Just to add on to what Gloria indicated, based on all the research I've done and the viewing of all the commission meetings, she did a fantastic job leading at the helm, not only supporting staff.
Sir, you can leave at any point you'd like.
Okay, but she mentioned something about that was legal.
It's not, sir, it's over, sir. It's over, the hearing is over.
What's wrong is you guys are just looking over something that's wrong, and she's missing evidence information that she needed to read. I can't include it if there was a medical reason why it wasn't included.
Okay.
So I'll come back.
Thank.
This is a waste of my time. You wasted my time, and you wasted each other's time. I had to sit there and watch you guys just struggle.
Okay, then you can leave. Then you can leave if it's a waste of your time.
It's so insulting to me.
Okay, have a good evening. Okay, Ms. Rollins.
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, I just want to just concur with everything that Gloria said, you guys' commitment and support of my wonderful team, during her tenure of leading the helm. And like I said, I'm looking very closely to not only working with the commission, working with my amazing staff, and also the beautiful community of West Hollywood to make sure that we continue to have that diversity and inclusion and we continue to stabilize housing for all the residents here. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, public comment. We don't have anyone registered to speak. So we'll move on to items from commissioners. I'm going to go with Commissioner Copeland first because I started on this end for the deliberation.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo what people have already touched on tonight and thank Supervisor Aviles for all of her work with us these months and patience and diligence and a very, very calm and helpful spirit during all of this, and not only on the commission but on our subcommittee as well, which has been so far very intensive and a lot of work has been going into that, and really appreciate that so much and look forward to continue working with you. And a absolutely warm welcome to our new manager, Rollins. Look forward to working with you, and welcome to West Hollywood. Thank you. That's it for me, Chair.
All right. Commissioner Topchin.
Thank you. Just want to thank Supervisor Aviles for your incredible hard work during the time when you were had to substitute the department's manager. You've done an incredible job, and for many years you've been an asset to the department. And your expertise, your professionalism, your knowledge really helped a lot of tenants and the landlords. Your impact to the rent adjustment, rent regulations and the Rent Stabilization Commission is incredible. So thank you for the service, and again, welcome aboard the new manager. And I also want to welcome on board our new secretary, Jennifer. Congratulations both. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
I want to echo some of what my colleagues have said, and it has been such a pleasure to work alongside you, Gloria, with the ad hoc committee and here, and thank you so much for lots of patience and always responding, and you even responded to a rental issue that I had, so it's been truly wonderful to be able to work alongside of you. And I also look forward to working with our new manager, so welcome. And then I wanted to say one other thing. So for renters and people that might not know, if you have gas appliances or your heater, you can actually have SoCal Gas come out for free. You can ask them to inspect your gas appliances or your heater, and they'll actually do it in the winter and in the spring. So for anybody that does have those concerns, that's a good way to just get that inspected by the gas company and be safe.
Commissioner Bass.
Yeah, thank you. I will echo my colleagues and welcome Jennifer. And I'm hard of hearing, so Robbins, please. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. It's Leona Rollins.
Rollins, welcome, yes. Manager Rollins. And welcome, and we look forward to working with you. But Gloria, it has been absolutely a privilege to work with you. This is the second time since I've been here that you've been acting, and Manager Rollins, you have very big shoes to fill. So we're excited to work with you on that. But thank you, Gloria, as well.
Commissioner Kirby's.
Ditto, welcome. Is it Jenny or Jennifer? Either one? Oh, Jennifer, okay. Welcome, Jennifer, and welcome, Manager Rollins. And then I just wanted to say thank you to Gloria for all the time that you've spent with us. Many people could have just sat there and held the seat, been a placeholder for, a year and a half, two, I don't know, it's been a while. But you didn't. You actually just took on the job as if you were taking on the responsibilities of the manager, which you did. So we appreciate that. It kept us working throughout the year. It kept us moving forward. The ad hoc committee, there were some other policy issues I think we worked on that we advanced that a placeholder wouldn't have done. We just would have waited till the next person was in charge. So I appreciate that, and your responsiveness you've always been responsive, even before you were in that seat, but especially this last year, and appreciate that. And I'm glad that you're not leaving. I'm glad that we're still going to be working with you.
Commissioner McCafferty.
I'll echo the welcoming to the new staff and appreciation for Gloria. And I just wanted to comment to leave tonight on kind of a positive note, or to not leave it on such a negative note, especially for future people who want to file appeals. I see this a lot with local government, and I would just advise to really lean on staff, because a lot of these issues come down to just a misunderstanding of how these processes work. And we have a great staff. We have a rent stabilization desk that can really walk you through these processes and get you to a point where we can walk through all the government mazes and things that we, like tonight was like kind of an example of not being able to see eye to eye based on scopes and laws and regulations. So I just don't want anyone to feel disempowered by what happened tonight. We do have resources out there, and I just wanted to state that. So I don't know, to change the tone a bit. Anyways, that's it.
No, I appreciate that. I think I'm going to add something. On that regulation about not being able to look at the digital evidence unless it's a video file or an audio file, that to me is ripe for revisiting. And I'm not saying we do that here. It's probably a higher power that has to do that. But it's 2026. I mean, we're moving in a digital direction. We're not even going to get our agenda packets anymore in paper form. I know that's apples to oranges, but we should think about allowing folks to submit things digitally and have it all be looked at, whether it's a PDF file or a static file or a video file. I don't think that that's in today's climate, it just seems like a regulation that might be worth revisiting. And I don't even know if that really would have had an impact tonight, but standing alone, I think that people should be allowed to submit things digitally, and making them print things out in 2026 is a little, it's dated. And I'll add also too on the comment, the tenor tonight. I appreciate your efforts to make it positive. And for folks at home and others who might be viewing, we all do our best up here. I think we all bring our most positive approach to it all. And it's never fun getting criticized or attacked after we've done something. And even if it's for the best or misunderstood reasons or good reasons, that's not really acceptable either. So I'll just leave it at that. But we can move on. Oh, here's my one last thing. Between now and our next meeting, there's gonna be a legislative affairs session up in Sacramento, and our vice chair is currently slated to go up and represent this commission. And what I wanted to know is, for the next meeting, can we or should we agendize something for our vice chair to tell us what that was all about, and to have a discussion about it versus just an item from a commissioner at the very end where she can only say what it is, but we can't really ask her, and this process got a little truncated because we don't even know, and I'm not inviting comment on it right now, I'm just saying we don't even know what the bills are that relate to this commission that might be lobbied for. So we didn't get this opportunity beforehand. So now I'd really like, if possible, to agendize something for the next meeting to give our vice chair and this commission an opportunity to really dive into her day up there and topics related to that.
Yeah, I will definitely speak to the city clerk and see if this is an item that can be agendized as new business. It's not something that you're really voting on or making a recommendation on. So
just discussion.
Yeah, so I'll clear that with her, and if it's something that can be agendized, you'll see it on the next meeting.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, well then with that, we get to adjourn for tonight. This meeting is going to be adjourned to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Rent Stabilization Commission, to be held on February 12th, 2026 in West Hollywood Park Public Public Meeting Room, Council Chambers. Thank you all very much.